This is Kara from Lady Kara Tarot, and today I have a flip through as well as the Arcana Battle and reading with the Xultun Tarot, the Maya Tarot deck. This was originally published in 1976. Oh, I have to shout out to Simon at the Herman's Cave because I saw this on his channel. Someone had given it to him, and he showed it as part of a group of other things he was showing, and I knew I would be interested in this. Before I get anywhere else into it, we need to address the very fine balance between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. Understanding that when this was published in 1976, that discussion wasn't being had publicly in the publishing industry and the way it is now. That being said, the author Peter Balin seems to have done the research and the art all of himself with a high commitment to fidelity and integrity and to understanding the systems. He's from New Zealand initially, and he was very interested in the Maori tribes there. And then later in life came to the Americas and decided to delve into the Maya. This is the original deck was larger. I think it was about an inch larger in each way, and it was more like a handmade deck. They talk, that's to a certain amount about there were some problems in the publication of that at that time because of the size and the coloration, and those were difficulties with the initial publication. This is a 2019 republication of the 1976 deck. I think it makes sense to start with the publishers have an introduction, and this is the third edition, 2019. I did read, I think there was a 2012. And I think the book is copyright 1978, but the cards might have been 1976. Some highlights from this page. The tarot speaks to us from the same level shared by all intelligent human beings, the level of our fears and loves, our needs and desires, none of which would be foreign to the ancients. There is no doubt that an ancient Maya priest presented with a modern tarot deck would soon be able to work out its purpose and proceed to use it in precisely the same manner as we use it. It is unimportant where it originated, its style, or who made it, as none of this has anything to do with the function. By extension, the movement from divination, externalization, to self-examination, internalization, is a logical progression. A knowledge of history leads one to a desire to control it on one hand so as to be free of it on the other. This desire to be free of the external repetition of events brings about the search for realization. What Mr. Balin writes, using the Maya as a vehicle, needs no verification, for each of us is able to verify the facts for ourselves. One can do no better than to quote from The Journey of the Fool, "You are the book, search the self, then shall secrets stand revealed." The publishers. Now, this introduction, to me, clearly seems to be trying to address, in a very roundabout way, the potential argument of cultural appropriation. And that's where I go back to, there's a fine line between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. And the more you look at this book, there's no question that it's cultural appreciation. Because this work was done in the early 70s, we don't know who, there is no, today he would say that he worked with Mayan cultural experts, or he would tell us those things, how he gleaned the information, where he got his research, who helped him with the research. Those things aren't delineated because this was from the 70s. What is clear is that he takes the culture and the symbolism with reverence. And I think with a desire to, he doesn't seem to be trying to lay Jungian concepts onto the Mayan cultural history. He seems to be, if you saw that table of contents, very interested in the symbols expressing, just as we look at the symbols of the tarot as expressing archetypes, he seems to be very interested in the symbols of this deck expressing the Mayan archetypes. So in that way, very faithful. There's a whole nother issue of, if a person is working alone, if a person is doing their own research and doing their own artwork to create a deck, if they're not working in concert with someone else, there isn't, they may have people that they confer with, but still the work is all their own. And should their work be thrown away because they're not of that race? These are questions. This is such a complex conversation, and the attitude towards it has changed. I would, we could equate it to the way the English opened up the tombs, but then the English pilfered from those tombs, and he's not stealing. He is, he's taking the imagery as it stood, trying to understand it as best he can. Does any of this free this deck completely from the issues of cultural appropriation? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's because it was a person not of this culture studying, even no matter how heartfelt his attempt to understand the culture is, he's the best he can do is reiterate what people from that culture would tell him about it. So in that respect, I think the deck remains, it's important to just point that out in any use or even study of this deck. For me, I think this would be more of a study deck, in the way that the Solabusca is a study deck in trying to understand the cultures. Now, one of the things that's interesting here is like the Yaqui sorcerers and their view of reality. So he is trying to explain the faith structure. This image is important in the creation of this deck because he conceived of, he was also not a tarot reader before this. He was someone who kind of poo-pooed tarot before he created this deck. But then he felt that this sort of came to him in an image, was a deck that appeared as one piece, as one larger picture. And so that's the way he worked on the Arcana. So he also was clearly learning tarot systems at the same time. and filtering them back and forth through each other. I think it's clear that his it is a academically complex attempt to understand the historical culture, and then to do it justice in this layout. So now, having taken, what, almost 10 minutes explaining that, I welcome comments, respectful comments, about whether you think does it pass the test? Does it pass the test of being cultural appreciation? Or is it only cultural appropriation? Or does it today, because we are now at this time looking at it today, does it sit in that uncomfortable middle? I think for me it does. I think for me it still does sit in that uncomfortable middle. That doesn't mean we should ignore it. And how many other, are there other people may know this, are there decks that explore the Mayan culture in a really legitimate academic way that would rival this deck today? I will say, I do think there is a place, there's a legitimate place of respect for a respectful study of a culture different from your own, because how else can we attempt to learn about other cultures? The place where it becomes problematic is then when you do something like this that sets you up as the arbiter of that culture for other people. And unfortunately, even when you look this up, it says this deck is an example of a deck that sits in this uncomfortable place with the conversation of cultural appropriation. And yet I was still interested in it, and you might be too. This would be, for me, an easier way to familiarize myself with these symbols, with these images, and learn a smattering of this culture than it would be for me to sit down with an academic study. Some of these cards, I think, are renamed. It's like we go through all of this in the book. We don't even get to... This book has 180-some pages. We don't even get to the individual cards until page 82. So again, that tells us that, you know, a lot of this is historical reference work and cultural reference work. So this is, we have the Fool. And there are no names on these and no numbers. The Sorcerer. The Priestess. In the Womb is a subtitle. If I were really going to use these cards a lot, I might end up putting those numbers on and and subtitles as well. And here, I'll say for the priestess, he has a description, interpretation, significance, an interpretation and inverted interpretation, significance, sexual expression. A value is memory, the color is blue, the tone is G sharp and A flat, and the direction is below. And then a meaning, the moon, what the moon rules in this. So it's very dense, which is the kind of thing I like. The consort instead of the empress, born of air. The ruler, born of water. The priest, knowledge of evil. The lovers, gathering together experience. Oh, don't tell me I got off the edge here. Okay. The warrior, one dies. The cactus overcomes death. So that would be strength. The sage overcomes material, the hermit. The wheel, reaping rewards of effort. The balance enters fully into the matter, justice. Hanged man, burning without flame. Death man begins the climb out. Temperate man, growing on through. Bound man, washed entirely clean. This would be the devil card. Released man, perfection close. The star, full light of consciousness. The moon, shake off the ash. The sun, perfection attained. Planet Venus, divine nature is manifest. So that would be instead of the judgment card. And planet Earth, one with divinity. So those are the majors of this deck. I am still going to do an Arcana battle. So I reordered the minors so that it would be more of what I understand. So Jade is the Pentacles suit, the Lord, the Lady, the Warrior, the Servant. 10, 9, 8, 7. This is clearly Rider-Waite-Smith inspired. 6, 5, 4, 3, I will pause here because I always like to look at the 7, 8, and 9 to see if this is a deck that I would be able to organically read with. Well, they're clearly labeled, so that helps. So you don't have to stop and count. But if you count, they are there also. So yes, I think I could clearly read with this imagery, even though it's quite foreign and yet similar, obviously kind of built with the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery in mind. The swords, the cups, and the staves. So I would welcome a response from people who are from South America, Central America, South America, to, that shows you the limits of my knowledge of where the Mayans were, as to whether you look at this deck and where do you think it falls? Does it seem respectful, like a respectful blending? Does it seem to be arbitrary and disrespectful? I would welcome education from a viewpoint of people from this culture as to, I mean, we can't undo the fact that this deck was created in 1976 or reprinted recently. I think because the interest in the Maya culture transcends the area, it's a worldwide interest because of the historical significance. So then the question becomes, does this become offensive by existing? Or is it a respectful representation that today could be done better? And now, Arcana Battle. Again, Arcana Battle, I'm just responding to the image, keeping the one I like better, and moving from there. Removing the one I don't. Okay, and because I like to leave 3, I have 1 card left, so I'll put them in the order that they were laid out. Oh, the sun. Okay, that's nice. I don't know why my camera cut out right after I said the sun as I was putting these in order. So I'll go back now and add the deck interview. This is basically the Hierophant, Justice, and the Sun. The Hierophant has a different name in this deck. So he is the priest. Same sort of concept, this looking backward at tradition, understanding the history. This is why I got this deck. Understanding the history, appreciation for the things of the past, while standing firmly in the present, firmly and colorfully in the present, having reverence for old traditions, and yet using them to enliven the things that we understand of today. Justice, cutting through, balancing and cutting through, trying to understand what's worthy, what's not worthy. That's been the whole discussion for this deck. So this deck remains concerned with these things to arrive at a place of enlightenment, of the sun, of warmth, of a place of seeing clearly and brightly. Yeah, so that's what I would hope. That it really does encapsulate the things that I would look for from this deck. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this deck, seeing the artwork. Whether or not you would want to get it. Oh, by the way, I was able to get both the book and the deck on Abe Books for a very low price. And so I think it is still available. I think you can find them on Amazon, other thing, but and perhaps through the artist website. I think the artist website is. I went to his website, but I didn't look for the deck there. I was looking for his biographical information. So you should be able to find, and this was new. It was a brand new deck. This is, again, the 2019 publication and a republication of the book. So it ought to be a very interesting study, definitely going with my study and art decks. Maybe the conversation on this video may influence whether I think it's right to use it or not, depending on what people think as to whether it's something that one would use publicly. Now, certainly if I had someone from this region of the world who saw that I had this deck and wanted a reading with it, well then yes, because then they would be connecting with it in a way that's, that's much more organic than just an intellectual way of connecting. So, and one of the goals of my collection is to have decks that connect with people of many different cultures, so that I have that capacity as a reader to do that, to connect in that way, on a different level of, for me, cultural appreciation. I'll let it go there. Thank you. I look forward to your comments. Please be kind. Thank you. This is Cara from Lady Cara Tarot, reintroducing you to an updated version of a deck from 1976, the Xultun Tarot, and the guidebook. Thank you.